The golden morning light spilled across the grand towers of Enchantia Castle, shimmering off every window and balcony. The castle was alive with excitement. Maids hurried down the marble halls, musicians tuned their instruments, and the royal flag fluttered proudly in the breeze. Inside, Princess Sofia was finishing her breakfast beside her step-siblings, Amber and James, when Bailiwick entered holding a scroll sealed with the crest of Royal Prep Academy. "Your Majesties," he said, bowing deeply, "a message from Her Highness Headmistress Flora of Royal Prep. It concerns this year's Princess Test." Amber gasped, her eyes lighting up like jewels. "The Princess Test? Already? Oh, I've been waiting all year for this," she exclaimed, adjusting her tiara. James smirked. "Good luck, Sofia. Last year, Amber practiced her royal wave for 3 days straight." Sofia smiled nervously. She had heard of the Princess Test, a grand event where all students of Royal Prep were evaluated on grace, kindness, intelligence, and courage. Passing it meant proving one's readiness to represent their kingdom as a true princess. But for Sofia, who had only become royal recently, it felt like the biggest challenge of her life. When she arrived at Royal Prep later that morning, the school was abuzz. Colorful banners read, "The Princess Test begins." Princesses from every kingdom whispered excitedly. In the great hall, Headmistress Flora floated to the center and spoke in her soft but commanding tone. "Princesses and princes," she began, "the annual Princess Test will take place at the end of this week. It will consist of 3 parts: grace and etiquette, helping others, and courage in action. These challenges will reveal not only what you have learned, but who you truly are." Sofia's heart raced. She wanted so much to make her family proud, especially her mother, Queen Miranda, who always told how that being royal meant being kind above all else. But as she looked around the hall and saw Amber practicing her perfect curtsy and Hildegard laughing confidently with Cleo, Sofia felt a little out of place. Later that day, she sat by the Royal Prep pond, tossing pebbles into the sparkling water. Clover the rabbit hopped beside her, munching on a carrot. "So, what's the big deal?" he asked. "You've been helping people ever since I met you. You're a natural princess." Sofia sighed. "It's not just about helping. It's about being perfect. Everyone else seems to know exactly what to do." Just then, the amulet around her neck shimmered softly, sending ripples across the water. A gentle voice whispered through the breeze, "A true princess is not measured by perfection, but by her heart." Sofia looked up, surprised, but the voice had faded. Still, those words echoed in her mind. That evening, back at the castle, she told her mother about the message. Queen Miranda smiled and brushed Sofia's hair lovingly. "Maybe the amulet is reminding you of something you already know," she said. "Do your best, Sofia, and be yourself. That's what matters most." As the moon rose above Enchantia, Sofia gazed out her window, the stars reflecting in her amulet. Tomorrow, the lessons would begin. The journey that would test not just her manners or her bravery, but her heart. She whispered softly to the night, "I'm ready to try." Morning sunlight streamed through the tall stained glass windows of Royal Prep, bathing the halls in a rainbow of colors. Sofia arrived early, clutching her notebook and trying to remember every curtsy and dance step she had learned so far. The first challenge, grace and etiquette, would take place in 2 days, and every princess in the academy was already practicing. Amber was in the ballroom, twirling gracefully with her head held high, her posture perfect. 1, 2, step and glide, she repeated rhythmically, her gown swirling like a golden cloud. "See, Sofia, grace is all about perfection," Amber said proudly. "You can't trip, slouch, or speak too loudly. Every movement must be flawless." Sofia smiled politely but felt a little uneasy. Is that really what grace means, she thought? Just looking perfect? During class, Headmistress Flora floated before the students, her tiny wand glittering. "Princesses," she said, "tomorrow's lesson will teach you that grace isn't merely how you move. It's how you treat others while you move through life. poise and kindness go hand in hand. Some students nodded thoughtfully, but others, like Hildegard, whispered and giggled. Sophia wrote the words kindness and poise carefully in her notebook. She wanted to understand them deeply. After class, she decided to practice in the royal gardens, where the air smelled of roses and lilacs. Clover hopped along beside her as she tried to balance a book on her head and walk elegantly. But every time she tripped or giggled, the book fell off. "Clover," she sighed, "I just can't get it right." The rabbit chuckled. "Maybe you're thinking too hard. You've got heart, Soph. That's what makes you special." As they spoke, a small voice called from behind the fountain, "Oh no, my flowers are ruined." It was Princess Vivian, clutching a wilted bouquet, her practice arrangement for etiquette clay. As had been blown away by the wind. Without hesitation, Sophia rushed to help her. Together they picked new blossoms and arranged them again. When Vivian thanked her, Sophia smiled softly. "You don't need to thank me. We're friends, and friends help each other." That evening, as the castle lanterns glowed, Sophia wrote in her journal, "Grace isn't about walking perfectly, it's about staying calm and kind, even when things go wrong." The next day, the ballroom glittered with chandeliers for the Grace and Etiquette Challenge. The royal judges, Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather, observed carefully as each princess entered one by one. Amber's entrance was dazzling. Her gown sparkled, her movements were precise, her voice elegant. Then came Sophia's turn. She took a deep breath and began her dance. Halfway through, Clover peeked in from under the curtain to cheer her on. "You got this, princess," he squeaked. The sound startled her, and she stumbled slightly. The crowd gasped, but instead of panicking, Sophia laughed softly and continued, gracefully finishing her curtsy. "Sorry," she said cheerfully. "He just wanted to join in." The judges exchanged smiles. Flora whispered, "That is true grace." When the challenge ended, Amber approached her sister, still in disbelief. "You tripped, and still looked calm," she said. "How did you do that?" Sophia smiled. "I just remembered what Flora said. Grace is how you treat others while moving through life. Even when you trip, you can still be kind." That night, Sophia looked out her dorm window. Her amulet shimmered faintly again, as if proud. She was beginning to realize that being a princess was less about perfection and more about heart. The next morning, the bells of royal prep rang across the courtyard, signaling the start of a new day and the next challenge of the princess test. Sophia arrived early again, her amulet glinting in the soft morning light. The halls were buzzing with talk about the upcoming test. Everyone wanted to know what the next challenge would be. Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather gathered the students in the great hall, each carrying scrolls tied with pink ribbons. Flora floated to the front and raised her wand. "Princesses and princes," she announced with her warm smile, "your next challenge is called Helping Hands. You will be divided into teams and asked to organize a royal charity tea for the townspeople of Enchantia. The event must reflect teamwork, generosity, and kindness." A murmur of excitement spread through the hall. Amber leaned toward Hildegard and whispered, "This will be easy. We'll just order the finest decorations and let the servants handle the rest." Flora heard her and gently reminded, "Ah, Princess Amber, there's one rule. You must do everything yourselves. No royal helpers this time." Amber's confident smile faded instantly. "Wait, what?" Sophia hid a small giggle. This was her chance to shine, not through perfection, but through kindness. She was teamed with Amber, Vivian, and Princess Cleo. Their task, prepare the garden for the tea, bake treats, and create decorations by hand. At first, Amber tried to take charge. "We'll use gold ribbons, silk tablecloths, and diamond napkin rings," she said bossily. Sophia hesitated. "But don't you think the townspeople might prefer something simpler, something warm and welcoming?" Amber frowned. "Simple isn't royal, Sophia." Despite Amber's protests, they began working. Sophia led the group to the royal gardens, where she carefully picked wildflowers for centerpieces. Vivian strummed her harp softly while Cleo arranged the two Abels. Amber struggled to frost the pastries, her once perfect gown now speckled with flour. "Ugh, this is impossible," she groaned. Sofia smiled kindly. It doesn't have to be perfect, Amber. Look at Vivian's smile. Everyone's having fun. That's what matters. She helped Amber fix the frosting, steadying her hand. Slowly, Amber began to relax, even laughing when some flour splashed onto her nose. When the guests arrived that afternoon, the garden looked breathtaking. The flowers glowed in the sun, the pastries smelled delicious, and cheerful music floated through the air. The townspeople smiled and thanked the princesses for their efforts. One little girl tugged Sofia's gown. "Princess Sofia, this is the best day ever," she said shyly. Sofia knelt and replied, "I'm glad you came. You made our day special too." At the end of the tea, Flora floated before them once more. "You all did wonderfully," she said. But one princess stood out, not because she led with commands, but because she led with compassion. "Princess Sofia, you truly understand the meaning of helping hands." Amber looked at her sister, humbled yet proud. "You really showed what it means to be royal," she said quietly. Sofia smiled and hugged her. "We all did this together, Amber. That's the real magic." As the sun set over Enchantia, Sofia sat beneath a tree, the soft glow of her amulet lighting her face. She whispered, "Helping others doesn't just make them happy. It makes you feel whole." The amulet shimmered in agreement, and Sofia knew she was one step closer to discovering what being a true princess really meant. The morning air at Royal Prep was crisp and charged with anticipation. Word spread quickly. The final and most mysterious part of the princess test was about to begin. Sofia felt her heart race as she arrived at the training courtyard, where Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather stood waiting beside a sparkling crystal orb. "Today," Flora announced, "you will face the Courage in Action Challenge. Each of you will encounter an unexpected situation, one that cannot be solved with grace or charm, but with bravery and heart." Amber glanced at Sofia nervously. "Unexpected situation? That doesn't sound very royal or safe." James, who had come to watch, grinned. "Sounds fun to me." Fauna waved her wand, and the crystal orb projected glowing images of enchanted forests, mountains, and caves. "Each princess will be transported into a magical scenario," she explained, "and must complete a task that reveals her true courage." Sofia felt her stomach twist. What kind of challenge would she get? One by one, students stepped forward. Hildegard helped rescue a lost puppy. Cleo faced a sudden thunderstorm and stayed calm while guiding others to shelter. Then Flora called out, "Princess Sofia of Enchantia." The orb glowed brighter, and within seconds, Sofia found herself standing inside an enchanted forest. Mist drifted between tall trees, and a faint sound of crying echoed through the air. She looked around nervously, her amulet shining faintly. "Hello?" she called. "Is someone there?" Following the sound, Sofia found a small, trembling baby griffin tangled in a net. Its golden feathers shimmered in the sunlight, but its eyes were full of fear. "Oh no," she gasped. "You're just a baby." The griffin squawked, flapping helplessly. Sofia knew she had to help, but one wrong move could scare it more. She remembered what Flora had said. True courage comes from the heart. Slowly, she knelt down, speaking softly. "It's okay. I won't hurt you. I just want to help." The griffin stopped struggling. With careful hands, she untied the knots and freed its wings. The creature let out a soft chirp and nuzzled her cheek gratefully. But before she could celebrate, the forest began to tremble. The griffin's mother swooped down, enormous and fierce, her wings casting a shadow over Sofia. The baby hid behind her. Sofia took a deep breath. Her instinct said to run, but her heart said otherwise. "I didn't hurt your baby," she said, voice steady though her knees trembled. "I helped set them free." She stepped aside so the mother could see her child unharmed. The great griffin blinked, then lowered her head in respect. Sofia smiled in relief. "You're welcome," she whispered. In a flash of light, the forest faded away. She was back in the courtyard, safe and sound, with the other students and teachers cheering. Flora's voice carried through the air. "Princess Sofia, you have shown the truest courage. The kind that comes not from strength, but from kindness and bravery combined. Amber ran up to hug her. I can't believe you faced a griffin. I would have fainted. Sofia laughed. Honestly, I almost did, but something told me I had to stay calm. That night, as Sofia looked out at the starlit castle from her dorm window, the amulet around her neck glowed with a steady, warm light. It wasn't just shining. It was proud. Sofia whispered softly, Courage isn't being fearless. It's doing what's right even when you're scared. And for the first time she truly felt like a princess, not by title, but by heart. The day after the Courage Challenge, Royal Prep was filled with excitement. The tests were over, and tomorrow the winners would be announced at a grand ceremony in the Enchantia ballroom. Sofia should have been happy, but something about the day felt uneasy. Amber was her usual confident self, humming softly as she polished her tiara. I can't wait for tomorrow, she said dreamily. Imagine, Princess Amber of Enchantia, crowned with the golden tiara of excellence. Then she paused and glanced at Sofia. But you were impressive too, I'll admit. That griffin thing, wow. Sofia smiled humbly. Thanks, Amber. But I think everyone did amazing. It wasn't really a competition for me. It felt more like learning who I am. Just then, Bailiwick entered with a list in hand. Princess Sofia, he said, the headmistresses requested that you deliver this list of royal guests to the Enchantia ballroom. It's quite important. Make sure it reaches them safely. Of course, Sofia replied eagerly, taking the rolled parchment. She was proud to be trusted with something official. But as she hurried down the castle corridors, she didn't notice a curious wind stirring behind her, the faint, mischievous glimmer of a spell. In the ballroom, preparations were underway. Banners fluttered, servants polished the marble floor, and musicians practiced gentle waltzes. Sofia handed the scroll to a steward, who bowed and said, Thank you, Princess Sofia. Relieved, she smiled and left. Later that evening, just as the sun dipped below the horizon, Bailiwick came rushing in. Your Highnesses, there's a problem, he exclaimed. The scroll Sofia had delivered was missing important guest names, including visiting queens and ambassadors. The headmistresses were puzzled. But we sent Sofia the correct list this morning, Flora said. Sofia's heart sank. I delivered it myself. I didn't lose it, she said anxiously. But the looks on everyone's faces made her feel responsible. Amber crossed her arms. Maybe you gave them the wrong scroll, she suggested. Determined to prove herself, Sofia ran to Cedric's workshop. The wizard looked up from his cauldron. Ah, Princess Sofia, you look like someone who's lost a royal dinner list. How did you know? She asked, surprised. Cedric smirked. Let's just say my magic mirror talks too much. Seems a stray spell of wind whisked the real scroll away. Sofia gasped. Can you help me find it? Cedric sighed dramatically, but waved his wand. Very well. Show me the scroll of royal names. The mirror shimmered, revealing the missing parchment floating near the castle lake, stuck high in a willow tree. Without hesitation, Sofia raced outside, the moonlight guiding her steps. The wind howled, the grass rustled, but she pressed on. Climbing carefully, she reached for the scroll just as it started to slip. Please don't fall, she whispered. Balancing on one branch, she managed to grab it, nearly losing her shoe in the process. When she finally returned to the castle, muddy, tired but smiling, Flora met her at the gate. You found it, she said in relief. That was brave of you, Sofia. Sofia caught her breath and said softly, It was my mistake. I just wanted to fix it. Flora smiled warmly. And that's exactly what a true princess does. She takes responsibility and does what's right, even when it's hard. As Sofia returned to her room, the amulet glowed softly once more. She whispered, Mistakes can happen, but courage means making them right. She smiled, feeling stronger than ever, ready for whatever tomorrow's ceremony would bring. The next morning dawned golden and bright over Enchantia Castle. Birds fluttered across the spires, and the royal banners waved proudly in the soft breeze. The long-awaited day of the princess test ceremony had finally arrived. The ballroom glowed with crystal chandeliers, and rows of elegant chairs were arranged for guests from every kingdom. Queens, kings, and royal instructors had all gathered to witness which young princess would earn the golden tiara of excellence. Sofia woke early, her heart fluttering with a mix of excitement and nerves. She stood before her mirror, adjusting her lavender gown. The events of the past few days replayed in her mind. The stumble during the dance, the helping hands challenge, the griffin rescue, and even her mistake with the missing scroll. Each moment had taught her something different. "Whatever happens today," she whispered to her reflection, "I'm proud of how far I've come." In the grand hall, Amber was already posing gracefully, her tiara polished to perfection. "This is it, Sofia," she said, glancing at her sister with a confident smile. "Remember, if you don't win, just look happy for me." Sofia giggled softly. "Don't worry, Amber. I'll cheer for you no matter what." Soon the sound of trumpets echoed through the hall. The three head mistresses entered, followed by Queen Miranda and King Roland. The crowd rose to their feet as Flora spoke in her warm, steady voice. "This week, our students have faced challenges that tested their grace, kindness, and courage. But beyond that, they've learned the meaning of true royalty, being a light to others, even in moments of doubt." Sofia listened, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. "Each princess performed wonderfully," Flora continued. "Yet one has demonstrated that true royalty lies not in perfection, but in compassion. The golden tiara of excellence goes to—" She paused for a hear. Heartbeat, her eyes sweeping across the crowd. "Princess Sofia of Enchantia." The hall erupted in applause. For a moment Sofia sat frozen, unable to believe her ears. Amber gasped, her mouth open in surprise. You did it," she whispered. Sofia rose slowly, her heart racing as she walked to the front. Flora placed the gleaming tiara on her head. "Sofia," she said softly, "you showed grace when you stumbled, kindness when others struggled, and courage when fear stood before you. That is the heart of a true princess." Tears filled Sofia's eyes. "Thank you," she said, voice trembling. "But I couldn't have done it without everyone's help. Amber, Vivian, and all my friends. They reminded me what it really means to be royal." Amber stepped forward and hugged her sister tightly. "You deserved this, Sofia. You didn't just act like a princess, you are one." Queen Miranda's eyes shimmered with pride. "My darling girl," she said, "you've made us so proud. You've proven that kindness and courage will always outshine crowns and gowns." As the orchestra began to play, the ballroom filled with laughter and joy. Sofia spun across the floor with her friends, her tiara glinting under the chandeliers. But more than the crown, it was the warmth in her heart that made her glow. Later that night, as the celebrations ended, Sofia stood on the castle balcony under a sky bursting with fireworks. The amulet around her neck sparkled brighter than ever, as if sharing in her happiness. She smiled softly. "I didn't win because I was perfect," she whispered. "I won because I believed in kindness." The amulet shimmered in agreement, and Sofia knew her journey was far from over. It was only just beginning. The next morning, Enchantia Castle felt different, quieter, gentler, and somehow more magical. The princess test was over, but its lessons still echoed through the halls. Sofia awoke to the soft light of dawn streaming through her curtains, her new golden tiara resting neatly on the dresser beside her. She smiled, remembering the cheers, the music, and her family's proud faces. But as she touched the tiara, she thought of something deeper, something her heart kept whispering all night. A crown is just a symbol. What truly matters is what's inside. After breakfast, she decided to take a walk through the castle gardens. The air was cool and fresh, filled with the scent of roses. Clover hopped beside her, munching on a clover leaf. "So, Miss Perfect Princess," he teased with a grin, "how's it feel to be the big winner?" Sofia laughed softly. "Honestly, it feels nice, but also strange. Everyone keeps calling me the best princess, but I think I just learned what it really means to be one." Clover tilted his head. "And what's that?" Sofia smiled. "Being royal isn't about wearing a crown or knowing every rule. It's about being kind, honest, and brave, even when no one's watching. As they walked farther, Sofia heard the sound of quiet sniffles behind a rosebush. She peeked through and found Princess Vivian sitting on a bench, her eyes downcast. "Vivian? Are you okay?" Sofia asked gently. Vivian wiped her eyes quickly. "I'm happy for you, Sofia. You earned it. But I tried so hard, and I still wasn't good enough." Sofia sat beside her. "Vivian, you were good enough. The princess test wasn't about who's best. It was about discovering who we are. You have a gentle heart and incredible courage. You just don't always see it." Vivian smiled faintly. "You really think so?" "I know so," Sofia replied, giving her a reassuring hug. "Every princess shines in her own way." At that moment, a warm light flickered around Sofia's amulet. The air shimmered, and suddenly, a graceful figure appeared. Princess Cinderella, glowing softly with magic. Both girls gasped in awe. Cinderella smiled kindly. "Sofia, your amulet called me because your heart is full of truth. You have learned the greatest royal lesson, that being a princess means lifting others up, not standing above them." Sofia's eyes sparkled. "Thank you, Princess Cinderella. I'll never forget what I've learned." Cinderella placed a gentle hand over Sofia's. "Remember, dear one, a true princess is not defined by her title, but by her actions. Every kind word, every brave choice, every moment of compassion, that is your crown." And with that, she faded into golden light, leaving behind a soft trail of sparkles that danced through the garden. Sofia stood silently, her heart full. She turned to Vivian with a radiant smile. "Come on," she said. "Let's go help Amber with the decorations for tomorrow's royal concert. We'll make it something everyone can enjoy." Vivian laughed, standing up. "You really never stop helping people, do you?" Sofia winked playfully. "Guess it's kind of my thing." As they walked back toward the castle, the sun rose higher, bathing Enchantia in gold. The amulet shimmered warmly against Sofia's chest, as if whispering one final truth. The greatest crown a princess can wear is her kindness. And with that, Sofia knew her real journey as a princess had only just begun.